everyone, Marguerite here again. Today we're just doing another tier list. I've got a D&D spells, D&D 5e spells tier list here. So we will learn what my favorite spells are in Dungeons and Dragons. So we've got S to D. Okay, so Absorb Elements. Absorb Elements is a reaction spell, I believe, and it lets you absorb something that you're being attacked with. So it's a pretty good spell to have as a reaction spell to negate some elemental damage that is coming your way, to get resistance to an elemental attack that you're getting hit with. It also allows you to add that damage or that elemental damage to your next attack. So it's a really good spell to have if you are an Eldritch Knight or a melee class. It's a very good spell. I would say it's an A spell. Catapult. Catapult lets you pick up something off the ground and shoot it at the target for quite a bit of damage. It's a very good one to have. It isn't, you can argue with your DM whether it is magical damage or not. I'm just double checking. And it does quite a good amount of damage for a first level spell, 3d8 bludgeoning damage. But yeah, you can argue with your DM whether that counts as magic or not, magic damage. It does say bludgeoning. Bludgeoning, unless it's with a magic weapon, doesn't necessarily do magic damage, but that's something you can argue with your DM about. So yeah, it is a very good spell that does a fair amount of damage early, and you can use anything on the ground to do it. So I would say that that is a B-level spell. It's a pretty good spell. Disguise Self. Disguise Self is a first level spell that allows you to make an illusory appearance of something, of someone who's about your size, about your shape. And it is an illusion that can be seen through, but unless an NPC is specifically, they have to roll a check to see if they can see through the illusion. So it's a very good spell to have. Some warlocks can do it at will, so that's really fun. So I would say that that is an A class spell for me. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I love this. It makes your target prone. It makes your target incapacitated. They get a save on every turn. But it is a very good spell, and it is a first level spell. And plus you get to RP a stupid joke that you can tell that makes them burst out into laughter. So for me personally, this is my ranking. This is an S level spell. Fairy Fire. Fairy Fire is a spell that gives anything in the area. It lights up invisible creatures. It makes anybody that gets caught or fails the dexterity save on the fire, anything attacking them has advantage on them. And objects within the area turn a color, and it affects enemies and friends, so just be careful where you do it. But anything that's an object gets also turned to a color. So this is also a very good spell to use against mimics, as I discovered when I threw my players into a mimic house. So I would say that's an A-level spell. It's a really A-tier spell for me. It's a really good spell. Purify Food and Drink. This hasn't come up for me too much, but if you were doing like this is a spell that if you were doing a survival campaign would be a very good spell to have, because if you're in some place where there's poison, or water that is not safe to drink. It also removes rot though too, which is also good if you have food that has gone bad and you're in a survival campaign. So it's not always useful, but in campaigns where it's useful, it's very useful. So for me, I'd say C is probably it depends on the situation, and D is like actually bad. So I would say for me, since I don't usually do survival campaigns, it's a C. Illusory Script. This one's good for like passing notes or secret things. Yeah, so it lets you and your friends see things on a piece of paper or other suitable material, and it looks like it appears normal, but it can't be seen by other people. So they still see that something's there, but it's an unknown or magical script that is unintelligible. It's an okay spell. It comes up. It might come up in RP, but it isn't one that I've seen used very often, so I'm gonna put it in C. It depends on the situation. Alarm is a very good spell if you have a DM that likes to send things after you when you're asleep in your inn room and you think you're safe. So it has come up for me before. It is a useful spell for that. I would say it's a B level spell because if you have someone on watch, you don't necessarily need it, but it allows you to be in like an inn and things might not be attacking you situation. So I would say it's a B level spell for me. Shield. Shield is a fantastic spell it's a fantastic spell in almost any situation. If you are someone who has a high AC, like an Eldritch Knight or something like that, where you can make your AC almost hard to hit by anything, it's a very good spell for that. It's a reaction spell. If you get hit, you can use it. It is great for spellcasters who AC tends to be lower, so it gets their AC into a reasonable level. So Shield for me is an S tier spell. If I have a spellcaster, I always take that spell, and if I have a magic caster melee, I almost always take that spell. Ice Knife. Ice Knife is a pretty decent cold damage distance spell that splits off and hurts things around it. Now you have to watch this because it can hurt your friends as well. I haven't done that in a real campaign, but I have accidentally done Baldur's Gate 3 where I ended up hitting my friends with the Ice Knife. It's an okay spell. I would say that it's pretty useful. It's a pretty good cold spell if you want a cold spell, but I would say it's more like a B for me. There's other spells that I like at that level that can do damage. Featherfall. Featherfall is almost necessary. Someone should have it because you never know when you're going to end up falling from a tall height, and if no one has it, it could be a TPK. So Featherfall. Featherfall is an S spell. Featherfall is almost necessary for situations. Command. Command is a really good spell. It provides you with some options, but if you have any kind of imagination, you can do a lot of cool things with Command. It only works for one turn, but it's useful. So I would say it's an A spell for me. Magic Missile. Magic Missile is my favorite spell in the game. I like imagining Magic Missile as like Gundam missiles where they all or like mecha missiles, they all kind of fly around and then fly back in. I love ignoring AC and it just auto hits. I love rolling for it. Sometimes you get low, sometimes you get high, but for me, Magic Missile is my favorite spell. Some DMs and some players, Magic Missile is their least favorite spell because it has that auto hit thing. Magic Missile for me, so it just depends on the person. But Magic Missile for me, you need to break concentration. For a spellcaster, Magic Missile, they have to roll for every missile that you hit them with. Yeah, it's a great damage dealing magic spell, and I love it. And you can upcast it. I love it. Magic Missile is one of my favorite spells. I'm gonna put it at the front actually. Tasha, there we go. Tasha, move out of the way. Sleep. Sleep is an excellent spell at low levels for baddies, and it's still okay spell at high levels for normal people. If you need to knock out a group of people, of commoners for some reason, or low level guards, sleep is a great spell. I would say it's a pretty good spell. For me, it would be, I don't use it as much, but I've seen people use it to great effect. So I would say for me, it is a B level spell. Shield of Faith. Shield of Faith is an okay spell for me. I don't tend to use it very often, but I've seen people use it and it works okay for them. I would say it's a B spell for me. Create or Destroy Water. A lot of people like to try and push the limits of the spell to be like, oh, I destroyed all the water in the bad guy's body and people are 70% water or whatever, so that does a lot of damage. No. But useful for survival campaigns, useful for others. It can become very, very useful, but it depends on the situation, so I'll put it in C. C depends on the situation. Bane. Bane is a pretty good spell. I think it kind of gets a little bit overshadowed by Bless, but Bane can be a very good spell to make enemies fail saving throws, especially if you have a lot of casters in your group who do save or suck spells. So Bane's pretty good. So in that case, I'm going to put it in B. B is pretty good. A is excellent. S is the best for me. C is depending on the situation, and D is, in my opinion, bad. Beast Bond. I don't know what this spell does. Beast Bond is a 10-minute long spell that gives you telepathy with a beast that you touch that is friendly to you or charmed by you. I don't see that coming up too often unless you are a ranger. I suppose it could be useful if you want to telepathically speak to an animal that you are friendly with. I think speak with animals works just as well. This seems like speak with animals with extra steps. I guess the telepathy is involved, but you don't normally have telepathy. I think it's extremely situational. I've never seen it used so much so that I did not know what it did until I looked up. So I'm going to say it's a D class spell for me. If you have seen it used usefully, then that's great. But for me, I don't see that coming up very often. Protection from good and evil. This gives aberrations, celestials, fiends, elementals, fae, or undead disadvantage on attack rolls against the person. They can't be possessed, and they can't be charmed or frightened. And if the target is already possessed, they have advantage on saving throws against that effect, or charmed or frightened. Last 10 minutes. It's concentration. It seems very situational, but it's something that would probably be handy if you needed it. So I'm going to put it in C. So situational, but useful. Arms of Hadar. Arms of Hadar only has a 10-foot range. It is an emanation. It's a strength saving throw, which is quite commonly high for a fair amount of monsters. It does 2d6 necrotic damage, and they can't take reactions. It's okay. I think there's better spells than it, and the fact that it's an emanation means it's dangerous to use if anyone else is nearby you. So I'm gonna put it in D for not great. I want to say any spell is bad. I don't think any spells are super bad except for one. So yeah, I'm gonna say there's better ones. There's better ones. Detect magic is extremely good. It has limits, but it's incredibly good. It lets you detect magic within 30 feet. There's things that can stop it from happening. It doesn't tell you everything about it, just tells you the school, but it's a very good spell to have, and someone in your group should have it just to be safe. Zephyr Strike is a very good situational spell. It makes it so you can't provoke opportunity attacks when you move out of something's range. You do an extra 1d8 force damage when you hit, and then it increases your walking speed for 30 feet if you hit, whether you hit or miss. So it's a pretty good spell. I will put it in the B. I think it's a pretty good spell depending on who. If you're a melee class, it seems like it's a very good spell. Burning Hands. Burning Hands is a very good low-level fire spell. That is an AoE. It's kind of what you have before you get Fireball at level 3 spells. So I'm going to say that it is also quite a good spell. Ray of Sickness. Ray of Sickness is a low-level spell that does poison damage and can put the poison effect on something, but the poison effect only lasts until the end of your next turn. I think there's better spells out there that, you know, poison is very often resisted by a lot of creatures, and I think there's better spells out there. So I'm putting it in D, where it's like there's other spells out there that do a better job. Witch Bolt is the same, unfortunately. Witch Bolt, people see Witch Bolt and they see that the damage is high, but it's a little bit of a trap. It does 2d10 or 2d12 lightning damage. That seems good, right? On your subsequent turns, you can do bonus action, deal 1d12 to the target automatically, and with attack missed. Like, it's okay, but people, I think, newer players think that the high damage rolls are better than they are. So I would say that Witch Bolt is probably a C for me. It seems good until you use it a lot, and then you find out it's not as good as it could be. So it's a decent spell. Like this is like situationally good. Don't get me wrong. Animal friendship. Animal friendship is the better version of Beast Bond, in my opinion. And speak with animals is the better version of Beast Bond. I guess Beast Bond, no, yeah. So I'd say animal friendship is a B, because when you need it, it helps. Charm person. Charm person is a very good spell. It's not mind control. A lot of people seem to think it's mind control. There are limits to what you can do with it. And it only makes them that they are a friendly acquaintance, not that they are, you know, in love with you or your best friend or anything like that. But it is a good spell. It's not as good as people think it is, so I'm putting it in B, but it's a good spell. Detect evil and good. This is the title of this spell is misleading. You cannot detect whether something is evil or good, what their alignment is. Detect evil and good just lets you know if they are an aberration, celestial, elemental, fiend, or undead within 30 feet of yourself. And if the Hollow spell is active. So the name is misleading. It should be detect otherworldly entities or something like that. So in my opinion, this is not a great spell, and the title is misleading. And it only works out of 30 feet. Like, yeah, I guess you can see if something's pretending to be something else, but in my opinion, you can use other ways to do that. Ensnaring Strike. Yeah, this one, it puts if it's a strength save, but they put restrain condition if they fail, and it does 1d6 piercing damage at the start of each of its turns. They can try to break out of it, and they'll use their action to do that. So it's situational. I would put it in C just because it depends on the situation. Might be useful. The bonus action though, that kind of makes it a little better, but I wouldn't say it's as good as it wouldn't be in B slot, but it's situationally good. Hex. Hex is divisive for a spell. It tends to be used by warlocks, but other people can use it too. You can add 1d6 necrotic damage to the target whenever you hit it with an attack roll, so basically you're using this generally with Eldritch Blast. The target has disadvantage on ability checks made with the chosen abilities. And if they die, you can move it to a new creature. Yeah, I'd say it's okay. I'd put it in B. I've seen it used to great effect. I've seen it it's a use of your very limited spell slots when you're a warlock. So it just depends on how many short rests you get. It's complicated. But when it's used low B. We'll keep it in low B. Yeah. Expeditious Retreat. Expeditious Retreat uses a spell slot to make it so that you can take the dash action, and then you can use your action again as a bonus action to dash. If you're trying to get away from something, it's good. Otherwise, I haven't seen it used too often, but if you're trying to run away from something, it's great. I would say situational. Situational, but can be good. Thunderwave. Thunderwave is a great AoE spell. Just make sure your friends aren't near it. I would put it in there. It does a fair amount of damage, and it pushes things away from you. And it's a lower level spell that does that. So just make sure your friends aren't nearby. Same with Burning Hands. Find Familiar. Find Familiar is a very, very good spell. You can do a lot with a familiar. They can die very easily, and it costs money to bring them back, so just keep that in mind. But Find Familiar is a good spell, and you get a little pet. So I would say that it is an A spell for me. Searing Smite. I have not played a paladin. I'm not sure who else can use Searing Smite. Forged Domain clerics can still use it. I would say that it's fine. I think using other Smite spells are probably better in my opinion. So I'll put it there. Detect Poison and Disease. Is this one misleading too? Let's see. I have never seen this spell used before. The duration is sense location of poison, poisonous or venomous creatures. Okay. And magically contagious within 30 feet of yourself. Okay, since situational, but that could be good. Because it tells you a little bit more. It tells you about venomous creatures, and you can tell what kind of poison, creature, or contagion in each place. Magical contagions only though, so if your DM's kind of a stickler, they might say that natural contagions are immune. So I would say situational, but if you needed it, it might be useful. Yeah. Cause fear. Makes a creature frightened. It's only one creature though. And, yeah, so, I would say that it's using a spell slot for something, unless you want something to run away without hurting it, it might be better just to do damage to it. But I would say it's better than Beast Bond. So we'll put it high D. Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is the, as people call it, the ranger version of Hex. If it gets away with Hunter's Mark, you can try to follow it. And it's the ranger's version of Hex. Except you do force damage instead of necrotic damage. I'm gonna put it in the same spot as Hex. It's useful for that. You know, I'm gonna put Hex actually and Hunter's Mark in C because they're really only useful for situations and classes that use it. So Searing Smite's gonna go there. It's so situational, but they are useful for those situations. So Hellish Rebuke. Hellish Rebuke is a great reaction spell to just basically say F you to someone who hurts you. So I do like this spell. I have used it multiple times. I'll put it high B because it generally does fire damage. A lot of things resist fire, but it is just very fun to be like, hey, you hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you back. Opposite Winds. I can't find this spell, so I don't know what it is. So I'm just gonna, yeah, never heard of these spells. I'm gonna change the color too to light blue. Yeah, I can't find that spell. I don't know what it is. Armor of Agathis. Armor of Agathis is a good spell if you're going to get hit. It does full damage to the person attacking you, and if you put it on if you think of putting it on yourself before a fight, it can do a lot of damage. Oh, it gives you temporary hit points too. Creature hit melee attack roll for the ends, usually 5 cold damage. The spell ends early if you have no temporary hit points. Yeah, so this one's good for warlocks as well, especially melee warlocks, because you cast at the highest spell slot that you have with warlocks, and increases 5 for each spell slot. Yeah, so I'd say it's a really useful spell. I'll put it in A tier. Oh, Wrathful Smite. Does the frightened condition does 1d6 extra damage. Necrotic damage. Again, I think paladins and warlocks can use it. So it depends on I'll put it with Searing. Honestly, the thing is, a lot of these take your bonus action, and if you're a paladin, if you want to do a smite spell, I generally just use your normal smite. That's just my personal thing. Tensor's Floating Disc. Very funny. It makes a little disc that lets you carry things on it. Extremely situational, but useful. We'll put it at bottom of C. Useful if you need it, but very situational. Grease. Grease has a lot of options to use it for, and it's flammable. It's a good spell. Just again, careful if you're using it around your friends. Wait, it's non-flammable? Okay, apparently the spell is non-flammable now. I don't know if this has been a change or if this is how it's always been. I'm ruling that stuff is flammable. I'm sorry. That's my personal homebrew. Flammable grease, A. Non-flammable grease, C. But yeah, I think it's a decent spell. Tasha's Caustic Brew. I think this does poison. I've never used this spell. It's acid. Oh, 30 feet long, 5 feet wide. So it's first level. Creature line must succeed in dexterity saving throw and be covered in acid. It doesn't do damage. It's damage over time. I would say it's not great. It has a pretty wide area, but it's not immediate damage. It's just damage over time. at the start of each of its turns. Like it can use its action to scrape it off. So yeah, I would say it's not great. For me personally. This whole list is for me. Sanctuary. Sanctuary is great if you're casting it on someone who's not going to attack. Because things have to make a wisdom throw to hurt them. I've made the mistake of casting it on someone who was attacking and it cancels it out. I would say it is situational. It can be useful, but I would rather I personally would use Shield of Faith instead of Sanctuary. Put it there. Mage Armor. Mage Armor is one of the only ways in early levels that a sorcerer or a wizard can have armor. So it's pretty useful. I'm going to put in A because if you're a spellcaster, one of those spellcasters that can't weigh armor, it's kind of needed. Thunderous Smite, gonna go with the others. It totally depends on your situation and if there's a reason why you can't just use your normal smite. Choose one of these options. Compelled Duel. Compelled Duel is a really good tank spell, and because it makes things have disadvantage on attacking anything besides you, and it makes it so that they cannot willingly move to a space that's more than 30 feet away from you. If you want to get a fight one-on-one or you want to stop something from leaving, it's a pretty good spell. So I'm going to put it in B because it's a pretty useful spell and there'll be a lot of situations that you can use it. Longstrider. I think Longstrider just gives you more movement. But more movement's good. Yeah, Longstrider works for an hour and increases the speed by 10 feet. So if your characters need to cover a long distance, or you need someone who needs to travel a lot, it's a decent first level spell, but it's situational. So it depends on your party makeup and stuff like that. So I'm gonna put it in here. It can be useful, but it depends on the situation. Healing Word is an amazing spell. It is a bonus actually healing. It doesn't heal a lot, but it can get someone up off the ground if they are dead. And it's bonus action, so your action can be used to do damage to whatever you're fighting. Healing Word is an amazing spell. Jump. The bonus action, catch a willing creature on each of its turns until the spell ends. The creature can jump up to 30 feet by spending 10 feet of movement. This is a better spell to use on yourself than someone else. But it can be useful. It can be useful. It's just you have to be near something enough to touch them to cast this on them. So I'm gonna say situationally good. Yeah, I'll put it high C. High C for jump. Goodberry. Goodberry is an incredibly good spell if you are doing a survival campaign. It can save your group. A lot of survival campaigns will actually cancel it out because it is so good. So yeah, it's good in those situations, but then a lot of DMs who are running survival campaigns, because they are so good in those, they will ban it. So, it's such a good spell though. I'm gonna put it below Compel Duel. I think it's a good spell. It does one hit, it heals for 1 HP of damage, and it feeds you for a whole day. So yeah, I think it can be good. There is a spell that requires a lot of setup and a lot of situations to go wrong for the person to fall for it. I think it's so situational, and because it requires setup, it's not a great spell. It hasn't come up for me ever. I'm sure people can find a way to use it, but for me, I've never seen it used, and it seems like it requires a lot of setup to work. So I'm gonna put it pretty far down. Chaos Bolt. Chaos Bolt is an amazing spell, especially if you like a little bit of chaos, because you don't know what it's gonna do, and it can jump from person to person. It's a really good spell. It's a really good low-level magic spell. Hail of Thorns. Hail of Thorns, I think, is like a ranger spell. Hail of Thorns requires a spell slot to possibly do 1d10 extra piercing damage to it and some other creatures around it. I'm gonna say it's not that great. So It's in kind of in the Harms of Hadar situation. I think that there's better spells that can do the same thing. If you were a ranger, I guess maybe it can come in handy. In my personal opinion, it doesn't seem very good. Okay, Dissonant Whispers is a pretty decent spell. It does 3d6 psychic damage, and a lot of things don't resist psychic damage. And it has to use its reaction to move as far away from you as it can. And it's a creature of your choice. Yeah, it's a good spell. You know, on a fail, it still does damage, and they don't move away, but I think it's a pretty good spell. I'll put it up here. Yeah, I've seen that one used, and it's a pretty decent first level spell that does psychic damage. Earth Tremor. Earth Tremor seems very situational. It only does an area of 10 feet around you. It does affect all creatures and they become prone. It doesn't do a lot of damage though. It just does 1d6 bludgeoning damage. I think there's better... Thunderwave is a better spell than this for doing damage to people around you and causing things. So I'm gonna say not great. There's things that do better. Silvery Barbs. Silvery Barbs is the DM's best friend and worst enemy. I love it. I think it's a great spell. It's S. It makes it so that if an enemy, you give something as a reaction, you give something disadvantage, and they have to re-roll right then and take the lower of the two rolls, and then you can give someone, a friend preferably, advantage. It drives DMs crazy, but DMs can also use it too, so I don't really see what the harm is. If your characters are using it, your bad guys can use it. I think it goes both ways. But I love it. I love it as a spell. It's basically a no. No, you can't. Speak with animals. I'm gonna put it up at B because when you need it, it's useful. Animal friendship in it can kind of switch or go usually pick one or the other, but they're both useful when a situation comes up. Guiding Bolt does damage, is a cleric spell, has a far distance, and it gives your friends advantage on the enemy. It is an S tier spell. It's great. Heroism. Immune to the frightened condition and gains temporary hit points equal to the spellcasting ability modifier at the start of each of its turns. Oh, so it does a little bit of healing each time. And you keep the temp HP at the end as well. Not a bad spell. I haven't used it myself, but it's pretty good. I'm gonna put it in A. It's like a little bit of a, you know, it's a paladin spell that can kind of technically do a little bit of healing. So paladins don't have to use lay on hands or something else, and it does oh, it's just one creature though. I'm gonna move it down. I thought it was a group of creatures. Yeah, I'm gonna move it down to B, but still, not a bad spell. Fog Cloud. Fog Cloud situationally is a great spell. It can also really hamper your group if you put it in the wrong place, but when you need it, Fog Cloud is a great spell. Unseen Servant. It's a pretty good spell. It can come in handy to have someone who can come around and just kind of can't fight for you, but can do other stuff for you. It can go, it's invisible. They can perform simple tasks. Lasts an hour. They can sneak things around for you as long as like you mentally command them so they don't have to say things out loud. Fetching things, cleaning, mending, folding clothes, lighting fire, serving food, pouring drinks. Can attack, and if it gets hit, it's pretty much down because it only has one hit point. But so it's like a slightly less good Find Familiar, but it's still a decent spell. So it's going to be Find Familiar's an A, B for Unseen Servant. Bless is a great spell. Every cleric should take Bless just because it helps everybody in your party. Usually you can't cast it for everybody right away. You just have to pick, but it's a very good spell. Comprehend Languages, a very good spell when you need it. Same with same with a lot of these. These are very good spells when you need them. These are situational spells that don't come up very often. These are spells that I think there are other spells that do better. Snare sounds pretty bad. Entangle. Difficult terrain. They disappear when the spell ends. Strength saving throw over the restrained condition. Okay. Okay. It could be good. I'm gonna put it probably here, below Sanctuary. Yeah, it could be good, but it's pretty situational, but it could be good in the situation. Identify. Very important spell to have, especially if you have a DM that gives you a lot of magic items or a lot of cursed magic items. Identify is great to have. Chromatic Orb. Probably one of the best low-level cast or damaging spells in the game. You get to pick what damage you do. I'm actually going to move it up above Burning Hands. It's specific to one enemy, but it does good damage, and you get to pick what kind of damage it does. So yeah, pretty good spell. One of the best low-level spells. False Life. Whenever I go here, it's just me confirming what the spell does, so I'm not speaking wrongly. You just straight up get temporary hit points. I've never used it, but it could come in handy if you needed to, I guess, so I will put it with Jump. Situationally, it could be good, but it's more situationally than these ones. See, these are situationally very good. These are situationally maybe good. These are not great. Inflict Wounds, also a very good, very good touch cleric spell. You can do a lot of damage with Inflict Wounds. You do have to touch as a cleric, so it can be a little bit tricky to set up. But if you are a cleric who's something getting in your face, it's a good way to hurt them. So, and other things can do Inflict Wounds too, but it's a good spell. Color Spray. Color Spray is a spell that I want to be better than it is. I thought it would be similar to Chromatic Orb, but maybe like a AoE kind of version. It just blinds them, I believe. Yeah, it have the blinded condition. It's a Constitution saving throw. Yeah, it's blindness is good, but again, like, I'm gonna put it down here. It can be useful, but I've had it before, and whenever I used it, everything saved from it because it was Constitution save. Yeah, I have not found it to be very useful. Divine Favor. I don't know what this is. Oh! Till the spell ends, your attacks and weapons deal an extra 1d4 radiant damage on hit. Paladin spell. Oh! Yeah, super situational, only good for paladins, but it's on every attack. So yeah, I put that above these ones which only do one attack. So yeah, that's pretty good. Lasts a minute every time you hit. Pretty good. Only for paladins though. So pretty good for it's a pretty good paladin spell though. I'll put it above 100 mark, below Hex. We'll leave it there. Silent Image. Silent Image is weirdly fun. It does you can do a lot of cool things with it. Elemental Missile. Where are these spells coming from? These must be like older ones. I haven't heard of it. I don't know what it does. It sounds like Magic Missile, but with elements to it. Cure Wounds. Cure Wounds, in my opinion, not as good as Healing Word. Still an incredibly good spell and kind of necessary. Yeah, so here's my list. There's definitely ones that maybe I'd move around a little bit. Just double checking. But yeah, so I'm gonna change the titles of these to my favorites. These are always good. These are situationally good. Well, situationally right. Not a word, but it's gonna be a word. Add it to the dictionary. Very situational. And other spells are here. So those are my ranks. So it's not necessarily bad and worse, it's just how I feel. I'm gonna move some of these around though. magic missile. These are pretty much where I would have them. Silvery barbs isn't necessary, it's just very nice to have. I'm surprised counterspell isn't here, but counterspell would be up there too. Always good. Yeah. Sound good. Yep. That's a pretty good selection. Situationally good. Yep. Yeah, I agree with all that. Very situational. Yeah. Yeah, so they go from the very situational is like, these are kind of just, they all situationally good. These ones are ranked. So they can be good. They're very situational, but they could be good depending on the situation, but it'd be tricky. And then other spells are better replacements for these. Sphere Beast Bond. Of the ones listed here, I'm sticking with this grouping for how I would rank them. It's like, I still would take these spells, but I just have to have situations where I think they'd come up. I would probably not take most of these ones, honestly, unless I was a ranger and I had to take Hail of Thorns, because that's one of the only spells that they get, but I still think there's better ones than that. Yeah, I probably would not take these spells. These ones I might take. These ones probably could see myself taking. These ones I always would take, and these ones I definitely would take just because they're my personal favorites. So yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. This ended up being a bit longer than I wanted it to be, but you know, that's how it is. I get talking about stuff. And yeah, we'll talk to you again next time. I hope you're having a great day. If you're not having a good day, I hope your bad day is over with soon. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye!